is often portrayed in terms of banquets, especially a wedding feast. Let me give you some example. In Luke 14, for example, verse 15, Jesus says, "Now when one of those who sat at the table with him heard these things, he said to him, 'Blessed is he who shall eat bread in the kingdom of God,'" referring to that time. Even Matthew 8:11, we hear Jesus say, "And I say to you that many will come from the east and west and sit down with" what? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. So the presence of the Lord at these marriage festivities at Cana graphically pictures the coming of the kingdom. And I hope I didn't lose you with all this information here, but it is important in itself. But we see also that verse 11, it says that the beginning of signs Jesus did at Cana of Galilee and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. This, in fact, by the way, is the first of the 7 miracles that we find in the book of John. This, chronologically, was the first miracle that Jesus did at Cana. And it is very interesting to look at all these miracles, all these 7 miracles, very briefly. Because in here, there's something that you will see that is common to most of them, is that in all of these, okay, Jesus asked for the participation of the people in there. There's a great lesson for us here. It is interesting to notice that in many of these miracles, Yeshua asked the participation of the disciples and also the men he was healing, because these were meant for the training of the 12. Here at Cana, he has the participation of the servants, right? They turn water into wine because the servant cooperated with Jesus and obeyed his commands. The feeding of the 5,000, John 6, the disciples played a role. The healing of the man born blind, if you remember, that's a messianic miracle in John 9. That man had to walk a long time, by the way, from the temple to the pool. The raising of Lazarus, men had to roll away the stone and take off all the bandages. Okay, and this is how Yeshua performs great miracles, we see here. We are not to just sit and wait for miracles. This we learn over and over throughout the scriptures. They happen when we work with God. Miracles have first to be sought, especially in small things. Okay, we always tend to wait for great miracles, that things happen and so on. We have to look at in small things. Let's realize, for example, somebody says that 2 blades of grass are never alike. No 2 grains of sand are alike. God never repeated himself in his work. There's a photographer who succeeded in photographing more than 10,000 snowflakes. He found that each one was different and all mathematically perfect. And so these are the miracles we ought to speak about, and not to seek mysterious and hidden and secretive things. And notice one last thing to conclude. This beginning of the signs did Jesus in Cana of Galilee and manifested, it says what? His glory. Is not the glory of God manifested in blazing mountains or in burning bush only, or when Yeshua walked on the water? Not only, it is manifested, by the way, in small things, in a very small thing. As we understand here, we can see the glory of God. The water that turned to wine was not an essential thing. It was not necessary. It was even a luxury. But the Lord is ready to go that far to show us his glory. God works in big things and also and mainly in small things. And too often we look for the wrong kind of glory. We seek what is hidden and secretive, what is spectacular and fantastic, yet the Lord speaks to us like he spoke to Elijah. Remember? When he spoke to Elijah, Elijah was looking for God in the fire and in the wind, and also in the earthquake. And so, but it says that God spoke to him in a small voice, right? Small voice. Let's not be attracted by what is loud, but what is secretive. God does not speak like this. Expect a miracle in your life, but expect them at the right place and time. And one more thing. The sad thing is that it seems that many at the wedding did not notice the miracle. I'm not even sure that the headmaster or the parents of the bride and groom realized that there was a miracle right there and then. In verse 9, it says, when the master of the feast had tasted the water that was made and did not know where it came from, where did he go? Did he go to Jesus? No, he went to the master, to the host, and he says, oh, great, you're serving better wine afterwards. But this miracle was done for the disciple. It was done also for us today, so that we may believe even more. And it is my prayer that today the words of this gospel spoke to our hearts. May the Lord bless you. If you have any